Welcome to the only place where real, raw, and vulnerable conversations happen with IFBB Bikini Pros to give you an inside look at their struggles, strategies, mindset, passions, and all of life beyond the stage. This podcast is made to inspire, motivate, and remind competitors and the average gym goer that even the most extreme lifestyles and elite athletes have their ups and downs. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm your host, Celeste Turk, and now it's time for the Confessions of a Bikini Pro podcast. Today, we are speaking with a 39-year-old single mother who was born and raised in Seattle, but currently lives in California working as a pediatric anesthesiologist at a private practice. This woman has been an athlete her whole life and started competing in 2019, where she won her first show and the overall in 35 and up, and earned a national qualification when she placed second in open. She then went on to earn her pro card at the first national show. Maybe I might be messing that up. I have to double check with you.
Yeah, no, it was a couple.
It was
a
a
national
few,
show this year.
Okay,
Yeah.
Masters Nationals this past October, and then you went on to win your first pro show at Legion Sports Festival, Masters Pro Show only 1.5 weeks later. She's inspired by the idea of giving her all in every area of her life, being a role model for her son, and inspiring others to give their best effort too. Welcome to the show, Dr. Chelan Nour. How are you doing?
I'm great. Oh my God. Thank you for that introduction. Can you introduce me everywhere? You make me feel so good.
Well, of course. I love that. I realized as I was saying that, I was like, that's wrong, because I always type the introduction before I prep the whole episode, because it kind of guides me in the prep. And I was like, wait, that's wrong, because I remember prepping something different about your journey to the pro card.
That would be too much of a fabulous life, right? That would be like way too perfect. Like your first national show, your second show ever.
Seriously. Well, I'm very happy you're here, and we have lots to get into that I know, like I said, it's going to be very relatable for the listeners, but I always love to start off by asking if you have a ritual or something you do or think about right before your heel hits the stage.
I just really try to be in the moment and remember the reason I'm there is to have fun. Like this is pure a hobby, pure something for my own personal fulfillment, and I'm there to have fun and feel in the moment. That sometimes actually is my downfall in the earlier shows, and still now I just have too much fun and I forget that it's like a competition and it's serious, but it's like I always want to make sure I'm having fun.
Love that. And I know, well, your friend Jen, she encouraged me to reach out to you, and she said you are known for calming everyone down backstage as well. So what does that look like for you? Is that just when you're having fun, it helps everybody else?
I guess so. It's funny because I'm just so like living in the moment backstage, and I've been told by multiple different girls, they're like, you were like there for me, or like, you were just such a ray of positivity or sunshine and stuff. And so like, I think just like keeping everybody on the same page that like it's for a positive thing. And that's a huge thing of sportsmanship too. I think, like we're there to support each other. I mean, when you're looking around that room, every single woman and man, let's say, has worked their butts off. You know what I mean? Done everything they can, even if it's not their best day, to be there that day. And so it's like, it's good to celebrate each other.
I love that. That's such a beautiful perspective and so true. And I imagine, this is kind of actually even just what you said maybe fits this bill, but what are these Chelanisms that I've heard about?
Oh my gosh, stuff like, I guess the most recent one I put was like hunger is a choice. And it's kind of a joke, because obviously I know I got some flack about like people saying, well, hunger is real and people are starving. And I'm like, it's a hunger for life, a hunger for things you're going after. And also in this sport, you will be hungry at times and on a diet or something. So it has to be a mind over matter in kind of everything we do. Just those little kinds of things, I guess, have come up. I started making a list of them actually for 2020 because I was thinking how much, I've been saying these things. I was like, at the end of the year, I kind of want to bring them all up. And now I can't even find the list because, of course, I have 20 other lists on top of that.
That would be such an awesome little mini booklet.
Yeah.
Well, I actually agree with you on the hunger thing. Like, I think sometimes people are too sensitive. They take things out of context. And in this sport, I think hunger, in the context you just shared, it's like if you have, let's say, a macro drop or a calorie drop or a meal plan change, and you immediately go, oh, now I'm going to be so hungry. You're going to be
Right.
hungry, of course. And you're choosing that because your perception has shifted. But if it's seen as maybe an opportunity or an exciting ability to have your body communicate with you,
Yeah.
that brings a different mindset, like you said, mind over matter.
Right. And that, most of my life has been mind over matter in doing anything. And so I think, this kind of aligns with that.
Love that. And you've really just had an incredible journey, to say the least. And even though you were a lifelong athlete, what was it that inspired you to start competing?
Oh my gosh. So actually it was like, it's crazy. So I live in LA, I trained at Equinox, and then I had a friend who took me over to Gold's Mecca, the Mecca.
Mm-hmm.
I live right around the corner from it, yet somehow I'd never been there because I was at Equinox because it was close to all my work. And I went in there and it's like, I was always pretty lean and fit and muscular. Like I live pretty lean. And so that's kind of hard for people to understand. Most of the time I'm very lean. So I had some girlfriends who were like, you look stage ready. Like you're literally ready to get on stage. And the real reason I actually got on stage, kind of a bucket list thing, I was actually, it's really private, but I was having, I booked a large surgery that I needed to have something repaired in June of last year, June 19. And so I was like, well, I don't know what's going to happen, like who knows what my body will do or something like that. I had to have like some intestinal repairs, like a big belly surgery basically. And so I didn't know. And I was like, well, this is the opportunity. My girlfriends are wanting me to do it. They're doing it. They say I can do it. I'm like, all right. So six-ish weeks out, I decided to like prep myself and go for it. And I was kind of nervous.
You prepped yourself?
Yeah, for my first competition, I prepped myself. I worked with Sheena Jane Fitness for like 2 posing sessions. So, I mean, luckily, I'm at Mecca, so I'm blessed with pros walking around.
Yes.
Just like amongst us mortals, like I have like people who are on the walls there on the pictures walking around. And so I was blessed to have support all around me. But yeah, I just kind of researched myself. About diet and exercise and kind of about water and, salt and like peaking and things like that. And so that's kind of how I went into my first show, actually just solo.
Wow. So what was your prep like when you did it yourself versus what it's like now?
I mean, I definitely was too lean, which is, you know what I mean? Because I took what I normally live and then even like dialed it in more where I was like, okay, I'm going to be really clean, like no alcohol, like, very, very clean. And so even, I usually eat intuitively and I'm very healthy that way because you don't get to this old being in health a different way. But, I think I dialed it in. I was pretty lean, but it was a muscle contest show. And so they tend to like be okay with you coming in. This is me learning the sport now. They tend to be okay with a little bit leaner package. And so that would be my only thing. I think I came in a little too lean even for myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, muscle contest is like you can bring it in pretty conditioned as long as your booty's full.
Yes, exactly.
Well, that's an amazing learning opportunity. And of course, like you said, it was a bucket list item for you and you had already scheduled your surgery. But after you had got nationally qualified, you went into that surgery. So what was it like for you to have had this experience competing and then get nationally qualified and then know that you had a surgery?
So it actually led to a lot of FOMO because as I was sitting on my couch off of work, which I work a lot. And so even sitting on my couch, not working out, not working, watching all of my girlfriends proceed on through the national circuit, because we know that kind of comes later in the year, all the heavy hitting like national shows.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone was kind of starting to do those like junior USAs, I think. And so I was having major FOMO and I was like, you know what, maybe I do still want to do this. But literally I was sitting there and I was a big yoga practitioner at the point. I was like, I was either going to sign up for yoga teacher training or go into prep for another show in September 19. So like, that was just like where I was saying, I was like, should I do another show or should I go to yoga teacher training? I was like, you know what? I think I want to try to do another show. And that's when I like went to Boss Bodies and joined a team. And I was like, I got to work smarter, not harder, blah, blah, blah.
That's amazing. Actually, I just interviewed someone else from Team Boss Bodies, Jen St. Peter.
Oh, yes. Love her. I
So
haven't met her
her
in person, unfortunately, but like with Instagram, we feel like we know people.
Yes, so true. Well, I literally just talked with her today, so your
Oh
episodes
my
will
God,
be
that's so
coming up back
crazy.
to
Yeah,
back.
she's totally inspiring to me.
Oh, that's awesome. And I love that you took that leap. You're like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it big and I'm going to do it the way it needs to be done for me. And of course, before that, and this is something I'm actually really curious about, and we'll get into your competing journey too, but you were saying like you live and you were living pretty intuitively and you usually like to stay very lean. Is that still the case now as you're progressing through this sport?
So I haven't, well, I guess I haven't had a traditional off season yet, because my first off break was post-op recovery. I was very inflamed. I was like a mess. You know what I mean? I can't believe Casey even took me on. Like, I mean, yes, my pre-starting prep pictures are better than 90% of the population. You know what I mean? But for me, I was very inflamed and like in a bad state. And then that was my first off season. So I didn't really do a build season. And then I just went into like some national shows last year, which went okay. I mean, not terrible, but it definitely was not like I wasn't ready. And then this year I had about a month or two in the gym doing, I combined like Boss Bodies with some Brett Contreras booty programming because my glutes were really the issue then. And then COVID hit and the gym shut down. So then I trained at home for 3 months during my build season. So it's been kind of like, I don't know. I'm really looking forward to like an off season without any limitations. But as we know in LA and California, the gyms are kind of pseudo staying closed. So we don't know. The thing is, like, you have to be flexible, and your determination can't be determined by what's going on around you. And so I think that's like a crucial element to this, is like, even if there are no gyms, even if there is no other thing, like if you have a goal, I'm still gonna like work towards that.
Exactly. And honestly, like for me personally, and I know some of the other women I've had on too, like this whole year has provided us an opportunity to like build resilience, but also to sustain results and create results in a new way and like prove to ourselves what we're capable of. So what have you been doing at home? Because you also have your son as well, and he's been going to school on Zoom. So how has this changed maybe the way you are approaching it as a single mom and a competitor and a doctor?
Yeah, 2020 has been kind of a trip, because I like actually was just like kind of emotional at the gym today to my friend, because I said, you know what, like 2020 has been so hard on many of us, but it's like I've had so many blessings this year. So when we first started with COVID, the hospital I work at went to like an only on-call shift coverage. So instead of me having to get up and leave the house at say 5:30 or 6 every morning and not get home till bath time or bedtime, I was home with my son in the mornings more than I've been in all like 5 years of his life for like 2 to 3 months. So that was really good. And then the other thing I did when I was limited to being training at home is that I structured it similarly to how I would, I took it just as serious as if I was going to train at the gym. So some days that meant my son was here. Other days that meant we did our morning routine. I packed him up. I took him over to grandma's during my training time, came back home, put on my headphones, did my training, and then collected him afterward to keep like a routine of it. Because if you don't do that, then it's like, for me, I would really fall apart without structure.
Totally. I'm the same way. I feel like it's the routine that kept a lot of people going like through that. And of course continues to keep us going. But what is it like for you to be a working single mom and compete? Like, how are you managing all these hats?
I don't. Everyone's like, you're super mom. And I'm like, that means like you're usually either failing in one aspect or feel like you're failing. Like I always say, like, and the winner of best mom is ... Like I feel like sometimes I'm a terrible mom because I spend my time at the gym. But in the end, it's like a happy parent creates a happy family home life. And so, and also like teaching him that it's important to like work for your goals. And yes, he's only 5 and little, but I mean, he's been to a few shows with me and he sees me on stage, he sees my check-ins. And so it's like, I'm just trying to be the best role model I can for him. And he knows like when I go to the hospital and go to work, his dad is also an anesthesiologist. So we kind of talk to him about like, oh, I'm going to help someone with their stomach today, or I'm going to help someone with their knee. So he has an understanding that we do help others as part of our role in the world and universe. And mine happens to be, that's my career, but it's important that he sees that time away from him isn't like just time away. It's that I'm doing something for someone else.
I love that. And it's cool what you said too about how like going after your dreams and taking care of yourself makes you happy, and that allows you to then show up in his life as well.
Yeah.
So you had gone through a divorce and you've been co-parenting. Did you ever think you would be where you are now in your life as a
Not at
mother?
all. 39
Okay.
single in Los Angeles? Hell no.
What did you
um,
expect?
so, well, I never was someone that dreamt of like getting married and having a baby. That wasn't kind of like my picture perfect dream. My parents were divorced. I kind of was always like working toward the next goal in my life, like whether it was medical school or residency, fellowship, things like that. I was always setting another goal, and almost like it kept me kind of pretty focused and distracted. And I had long-term relationships, but I met my husband, and then we got married and had Rami, and then I just never thought like once I committed to that situation that I would ever be back kind of single again. But again, looking at my life today, and I'll try not to cry, but it's like I'm so grateful for maybe that divorce or maybe that separation, because it's allowed me to find a new life a little bit that I never thought. Who says at 39 years old they're going to become a professional athlete?
Yeah.
Especially as a woman.
Awesome.
That's almost unheard of, in anybody I know. And like, what other sport could we possibly do that? And what a blessing bodybuilding is, to be at a certain age and female and become a professional at it.
You there? I lost you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. What were you saying after? It's a blessing to be able to bodybuild.
It's a blessing to be able to be at my age and stage of life. And, bodybuilding allows you to become a professional at it in a sport. No other sports really could you become a professional at this age,
Yes.
especially as a female,
Yes, it's amazing. This sport provides us with so many opportunities, and I love that we get to choose it every day too. And like, it can be such a natural fit in our life and our lifestyle, and it adds more than it takes away. And it is a blessing for sure. And I love that it's something we can do long term, because that allows us to be patient, which is definitely necessary. But what was it like for you to adjust to single life after marriage? Because you said it opened up this new world for you.
I'm still working on it. I don't really date. So I mainly just go to the gym. Like, I kind of joke, there's not really a lot of time, because I really would rather give any of my quality time left to my son. So I haven't really had another relationship since I broke up with his dad. And that's okay, because I'm still, as adulting, what we learned is that we're still working on ourselves, and right now that means I'm focusing on bodybuilding and my team and all of my friends, and supporting them through bodybuilding and through just the sport. And then also with career. So it's kind of like I've had to shift the parts around a lot. And right now, probably, I guess I don't. I'm single, everyone. Yeah.
It's awesome. You're like really going all in all these other areas of your life, and you're using your energy in the things that you really want to focus on, which is so cool. And something that I think is really especially awesome about you is that you are practicing, you are a doctor. How long have you been a doctor, and like, what does that usually look like for you on a normal day?
Yeah, so I went straight through from college. I went here at LMU, got a BS in biochemistry, and then I moved to Chicago and did med school at Loyola Chicago, then residency at University of Chicago, straight through to fellowship out here at Loma Linda. And then I worked there in academics for a while, and then I moved out here when I was getting divorced. But on the day-to-day basis, being an anesthesiologist means you're up early. Most jobs, it's going to mean your hours are unpredictable. So you really need to learn to ask for help, be okay taking help. And like, I don't want anybody to think I ever do this solo. It does take even the support of my ex-husband and baby daddy, you know what I mean? For him to be on board with knowing I'm training and I'm working toward this and we're traveling, and my mother is our primary caretaker for our child. And so even before COVID, like, we need help, with our schedules. Like, I leave before it's light out. I come back before it's dark out, or before it's, when it's dark again. And so the days can be long, the days can be short. It just really depends on what the hospital needs that day, overall. And so, when I'm exhausted after working 12 hours, like, I usually still have to go to the gym and train, because like really going to the gym at 2 a.m. isn't an option.
Mm-hmm.
That would be kind of even crazy for someone like me who's intense, but that would be even a lot.
Yeah, definitely. So what do you do on the days that maybe are really unexpected or out of the blue, like you're on call and they need you, and what if you already had plans or you were at the gym? Like, how are you managing on those days?
Yeah, usually I don't go to the gym if I was on call, and I've actually recently restructured right after kind of the simmering of COVID had settled down. I restructured to not be taking call at my current job because I knew that in order to give my all to my goal of getting my pro card and doing all this for bodybuilding, I couldn't be up all night at work. And so at this point, I had to take a step away from that in order to shift my focus to this. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. How did that feel to do that?
I mean, overall, it's been kind of it's a bittersweet thing because, I'm pediatric anesthesia and my current job is mostly adults to move back to LA and everything. And I just started taking some peds anesthesia shifts at another hospital, but, it does take a shifting of priorities. Right now, my priority is my child and my hobbies while still doing anesthesiology because I genuinely love being an anesthesiologist, but it's had to take away from maybe I'm not in an academic position or maybe I'm not working at a large major medical center anymore. And that's okay because what I'm doing is still obviously valuable to the people I help. It's just a different situation.
And I imagine like that kind of role is it sounds like it's really fulfilling for you.
Oh, it definitely is. I know some people really just don't like their job. And I mean, we live in a time now where people, build businesses off social media or other kinds of things. And it's like, for me to say I would step away from medicine, no matter where my life takes me, I feel like that would be really, really hard. Cause I really love what I do.
Wow, I love that. And have you always wanted to be an anesthesiologist, or did this evolve as you did through that education?
Yeah, no, I didn't even know I wanted to be a doctor. No one in my family's a doctor. I think my mother was the only child that went to college, and I was the only grandchild that went to college at that time. And I went to college, I majored in biochemistry, and I was like, oh, well, I want to become a forensic scientist. TV back in the 90s, forensics was a huge thing. So I was like, oh, I want to be a forensic scientist. So I found out when I visited the LA crime lab that the person running the lab was a pathologist. And so they're a doctor. So I was like, well, I guess I better go to medical school because I want to be the person running the lab, not working in the lab. And that's what led me to medical school initially.
Awesome.
But then I really liked anesthesiology is a good combination of physiology. If you're type A and kind of intense and love kind of thrive in the stress, I guess, a little bit. That's really all the kind of things that led me to and being in the operating room is just, for me, it's incomparable to any other part of medicine. But again, this is my home. So
Yeah,
being in the operating room, I couldn't imagine being anywhere else.
you love it. It's so
Yeah,
clear that you do.
I do. I'm kind of a nerd that way.
Do you feel like the discipline in becoming a doctor and practicing as a doctor, as well as being a mom, shows up and supports you in bodybuilding?
Oh, absolutely. I kind of was, it's a joke that I say, people want to call you crazy for training 3 hours at the gym, but no one calls you crazy when you lock yourself in a room or a Starbucks studying for 6 hours, which is what it took for me. I mean, I'm not the most smartest student. It took me putting effort and studying to get the stuff, So it's I feel like having had to do that all along the way. And I mean, if you ask my college boyfriend, his mom would say she was always studying. And I was, because I was continuously putting in the effort to, reach my goals. So I guess
Yes.
that discipline too. And then once I became a mom, wow, you know, I remember struggling before I was a mom. I would I don't know how I missed that 9 a.m. yoga class. How did I not get up and get going to yoga class? Now I'm by 7 a.m. I've already done this, that, X, Y, and Z. And it's really made me the most productive human I could ever imagine. I'm multitasking constantly, which is kind of annoying to some people, but it's I'm always doing 10 things at once. It's made me a better person, I will say. Even though it's been very difficult, it's made me way more, just more functional.
Yeah, that's so interesting because there's so many women who want to become mothers, but they fear that it's going to take away from them as a person, that's a person that they are, whether that's in competing or in their career. And you're saying it's really encouraged more productivity.
Yeah, it really, it makes me way more organized with my time. I mean, even if my son is with his dad or he's at school or something like that, it's like I know the whole schedule, and there's a lot of moving parts constantly, and probably creates a
Mhm.
little bit of extra stress, but it's like it keeps me focused that it's like, okay, at the gym I have to get this done and then get home to my son and do this and that, you know?
Yes, definitely. And your son, you had mentioned like you guys talk about what you do and what his dad does. And then I remember a video you posted where he said that your job is going to the gym.
Yeah, oh my God, he totally did that. It's so embarrassing too. But I was like, yeah, I guess that is mommy's we call it mommy's second job. And I guess my mom kind of says that too with him. So, you know, and it has kind of become a second job, to be honest, because that's how dedicated I am to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you're doing this day in and day out. You actually release some of your career as a doctor to pursue more of your goals in the IFBB, obviously not sacrificing the passion in either, which is super cool. And it's something you've been so committed to. And when you started, it was a bucket list item. You got the FOMO watching your friends go up there. Then you hired a coach and you hit the national circuit again in um, well, actually, that was in 2019 national championships, and then you did the tournament of champions before ending your season. So, what inspired you to go from regionals to nationals to regionals again?
You know, I mean, I really like the muscle contest shows that were being put on. And so I knew the main goal when I got back was to do Masters USAs. And so then
Mhm.
I was like, I asked my coach, Casey, I'm like, do you think we can just do Miami? It sounds really fun. I'll take my kid and my mom, we'll make it like a trip. And it's like, she's like, yeah, you're like ready enough, you know? So it's like, I kind of just, I don't know. I'm always kind of the one pushing. I'm like, do you think we could just do that? Just instead, you know? And then that, you know, I mean, I didn't do terrible, but it's like I definitely was like, okay, well, you know, I wasn't like in my best, and that's okay too. Um, and then I went to San Diego because I wanted to do a muscle contest show, another warm up for Masters USA's. And then also we didn't really like do a peak week for that show. We just kind of like let me eat my normal food and just kind of give my body a rest, and just as like more like to work on stage presence a little
Mhm.
bit. And it went okay. I was hoping for like an overall, I'm kind of delusional, you know, something like that. But it, you know, I think the thing is if you walk away with any sort of like distaste or any negative feelings about a show, you might rethink about why you're doing the sport, you know?
Mm.
You know, every show I've gone to, I've met at least one or two close girlfriends. I mean, we're talking close, like where we message on Instagram at least once or twice a week, from all different teams, all areas of life, especially like I connect with moms a lot. And you know, it's like that San Diego show, I can, you know, I can tell you like a bunch of the girls that I met there that it's like all of this has stuck with me. And that's how I met Jen too in Miami, because she was like two girls behind me. And how do you happen to turn around and meet some woman who's now like your best friend? You know what I mean? Who
It's
lives in New York,
amazing.
far away from me. And like the sport is just so amazing connecting us.
That's for sure. I've noticed that, like, even just since starting this podcast a few years ago, it's like, wow, what a community we have. And how amazing is it that we all get to connect with each other? And it's awesome. We share these values and we share these commitments and these goals. And it's great that we get to support each other. And I love that you really capitalize on that. And you just said something that I think is really key, which is if you ever leave with a negative taste in your mouth, then rethink your why for the sport. And I got to ask you what your why is.
Why do I do the sport?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the main thing is I think it's a challenge and it's fun. And I love fitness and working out. And then it also taps into a side where it's like, you know, I'm not very glam. Actually, when I went to Universe for the team show was the first time I had ever glued on my own eyelashes because I had some old ones. V is like one of my prime makeup artists. I don't know if you know V, but
Mm-hmm.
she always gives you the lashes. So I had the container. I was like, you know what? I'm going to glue these on. And then I sent her the picture. I was like, look what I did. So it kind of taps into like an ultra femininity a little bit, like an ultra makeup, ultra hair, tan, kind of like that other side of me that I really, you know, I put a cap on at work and scrubs and I'm in loose clothes or at the gym, very grungy. And so that really, I love that part of it too.
Yes, so true. I love that. You up for the challenge and you like that femininity. And of course, you know, people go into shows with expectations. It can be emotional, whether it's positive emotions or not so positive emotions. How do you personally work through and manage your own emotions, whether it's on stage or off stage?
Yeah, you know, I think like, I don't know, I don't know if I set like, you know, low expectations where it's like, you just don't know what's going to happen at a show. I always talk to people, it's who shows up, it's the look of that day, it's the conditioning, it's how your body's reacting to stress, food, travel, everything. And so it's like, just remembering like, no matter what's going on, just bring your best that day. And you know, it might not be your best stage look, but if you brought your best that day with whatever was going on, that's all you can walk away with, you know, knowing that it's like, you know what, I still went up there, showed my personality and gave it my all.
Yes, love that. And do you feel like that is something that you carry in other areas of your life too?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of just, I don't know. It's been, I mean, obviously it's been hard, like, kind of like when I moved back to LA, I kind of started over. I didn't really have like a ton of friends or anything. And going to the gym, like, you know, now all of my closest girlfriends, everyone's kind of in this fitness world a little bit or in medicine. So it's like we're all kind of similar interests. And I think like that's the common bond is if you have people that you have stuff in common with, like one of my other girlfriends is like a triathloner and rides her bike and cycles and runs. And it's like, you know, just having something like that in common, because she'll be like, I'm hiring a running coach. And I'm like, that's fantastic. You know, because I have my own coaches. So it's like to see people in different areas and be able to support one another, I think is really important.
So true. I love that. And something that you've also been doing just in regard to like becoming the best athlete you can be in this sport is using low pressure fitness. And I think a lot of people know, you know, about vacuums. It's pretty well known, especially
Yeah.
now and for a long time, ever since like Arnold really. But you're using low pressure fitness to connect and repair your body. Can you break down like what it
Yeah.
is? Because it definitely goes a step further.
Yeah. So I think I just started about, what is it, in September between North Americans and Masters Nationals. A girl on my team and a few other girls were doing it. And you know, I've been doing vacuums, but it's like with anything in our life, you know, you have your training program and it's like you follow your training program to a T. You follow your macros or your meal plan to a T. And I feel like for me to commit to it, it was like I had to hire a coach. So I actually hired an LPF coach who works with like a few girls on our team. And it's about connecting kind of through breath work and breath holds and apnea, connecting to kind of your almost internal corset, internal musculature, which is especially important for people who've had babies, or even when I had my big surgery, like my belly was bigger than when I was pregnant afterward because of inflammation and some other issues in my intestine. And so reconnecting with those internal muscles to try to help bring in your waistline, which is so important in bikini, right? We don't want a waist. We want wide lats, big, nice, full glutes, sharp tie-ins, but soft tie-ins, and a tiny waist. And so for me, I'm definitely not born with a tiny waist. I'm not genetically that way. I call myself SpongeBob a lot. um, as a joke, but it's true. You know, I'm a rectangle. I'm very long torsoed and I'm a rectangle. So I've really been working on it. I've been doing it every single morning since between North Americans and Masters Nationals. And, you know, I'm really optimistic for 2020 of like seeing the results from this. Cause it does take, you know, 6 months to 12 months to really kind of see it fully working. And some people say it works faster, but you know, a slow and steady with this one for me. So hopefully I'm really excited about what it can bring to my stage presence, my physique overall.
Yes, I'm actually curious what your feedback has been so far.
Oh gosh. Well, it depends. So at North Americans where I got second instead of first, was to not be as lean. I
Uh-huh.
was too lean, more upper body. Yeah, so it's always a struggle to not be too lean for me. So I was working on that. So basically between North Americans and Masters, this gets into a whole other, are we ready for this rabbit hole?
I'm ready.
So basically between those two shows, we had 5 weeks, I think. Essentially I had to eat my way to my pro card.
Sign
And this,
me up.
yes, well, people think it's a dream, but you know, I was like, after I got off the stage and gotten my pro card and won that overall, I was like, I cried sitting there eating that rice. I cried sitting there having to push food when I was so full. And I was like, I thought I was going to die. And I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. But again, that's part of the sport too. Hunger is a choice. So I had to be hungry when I wasn't.
How much rice were you eating? Like, how did things change from one week to the next?
So my fats were actually the highest. So I had 110 grams of fat a day.
Wow.
Which is almost 1,000 calories of fat, right?
Yeah.
And then I think my carbs were at like 200 or 300 or something.
Damn.
Yeah. So I was eating like that plus refeeds, probably burger, fries, wine, refeeds 3 times a week. And then I hadn't done cardio.
You're on fire.
Yeah, it's crazy. I hadn't done cardio since, well, I wasn't supposed to be doing any cardio, but during COVID, it was very stressful. And I have a Stairmaster in my living room. So I'm not going to lie, I was on that until I finally went on to prep. Because when I start prep, I had to stop cardio. And that's okay, so this is going to come full circle. So during COVID, my girlfriend Jen had sent me your podcast with Maya, okay?
Uh-huh.
And it was like the light bulb and the shining bright light that it was like, I listened to that podcast and she was talking about how she kind of had to quit training, eat, do yoga, and not do the things that she thought made her stage ready. And she didn't feel stage ready and didn't look stage ready. And it was like, I was like, you know what? I can stop cardio. I can follow this plan. I can do this. And I listened to your podcast and it literally changed my life.
Oh my God.
Like my coach was always begging me, please stop cardio. And I'm a cardio bunny. I like it. I'm children of the 80s, So I finally stopped cardio. Really, I can't thank you and obviously Maya enough for that podcast changed my life. It really did. And I told Maya that the other day. I was like, you won't believe I'm going on Celeste podcast. And I was like, I never told you when we met at the SAC Pro, you changed my life. You know what I mean? So it's there's a full circle. Did I ever think I would be on a stage or meeting Maya in real life or talking to you on a podcast? I had I don't know. I just this is one of those blessings. I'm it's just I can't even believe that I'm able to thank you on this podcast.
Oh my God.
For things that you've done to help me,
Thank you. Wow.
It's insane. It really is.
That is amazing. Well, see, now you're going to inspire someone else who's listening, hearing your story, hearing what you've been doing and what your process has been like. And they're going to be thanking you when they see you and they're a pro or they're.
Oh my God. Yeah. I can only hope that I'm inspiring of some sort,
Absolutely. That just means a lot to me and so amazing. Like I said, to even just have you on here and to hear that makes me so happy. And Maya was, an amazing guest and she's an amazing person. And it makes sense. Again, this community, we're so connected and it's awesome that we get to support each other in that way. And I think that's just so cool. And
it really is.
Of course, you had to give up some things that you enjoyed doing to then achieve the goal you ultimately wanted. So what was that like for you when you hit the national circuit? You started to go through these shows and these preps, were you enjoying it? What was your process like?
When I showed up after getting second at North Americans, and then this is Masters 35 and over, then I showed up at Masters Nationals. I really had low expectations because we see it a lot. Somebody goes from the top to last call outs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's you just don't know. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go. I did what I needed to do. I'm bringing what I can. And I just don't know. I never know how I stack up against other people. It's kind of like being an anesthesiologist. I'm in private practice, so I'm in a room. I don't know what my colleagues do for the same case. I don't know what their standard is. I only know what I do. And so even I think my coach was you were center stage, and I was I didn't even look left or right. I didn't know what was going on. You know what I mean? I was so focused. She's why aren't you more excited? I'm I don't know. I'm I didn't even know what happened,
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was kind of shocked. I couldn't believe it. And then when they called my name for the overall, that was jaw dropping. I was are you sure? I was, when you're checking your number and your name, and you're are you sure you called the right number? I had good luck that day, I guess.
That's awesome. You brought it. That was your moment in time that you were meant to have happen. And something I notice about you on stage is you really bring your energy and your personality into your posing. How
Oh,
have
thank you
you?
so much.
You're welcome. I think it's so, when I see like athletes do that, I'm like, oh my God, like it just looks right on them, but it also like totally embodies who they are. And I was curious if this is something that has progressed for you, or if
Um,
this is like you've always had that naturally.
I mean, I think I was a gymnast and performing, but definitely the posing. The posing does not come natural to me. I have really bad low back flexibility, but the personality wise, like I think I even, like I said, like it's kind of like I'm almost goofy and having too much fun. Like I can't almost control the excitement I have of like just getting out there and like, you know, I mean, let's be honest, we're showing off hard work,
Yeah.
you know, and being proud of it. No matter what girl X, Y, or Z or A, B, or C is doing around you or before you or after you, it's like you should walk on stage and be proud of what you've accomplished that day and what you took to get there. You know what I mean? I think that's how I feel too about this sport is like, you know, I've done things, I've gotten an MD and I've done other stuff, but like, I'm not going to lie. I came home from my first show when my mom was home with the baby. So no one was even actually at finals. And I was like, you know what? I'm like really proud of myself that I did this. Like, I am really, really proud.
That's huge. I love that. Like, and it wasn't even just about like the success, but it was about like that internal validation and knowing.
Yeah. But I was like, I can, you know, I could do that. I could get on stage in no clothes and almost and be fine.
That's
And be
so
fine.
cool. You know, there's a lot of women out there who feel like they're too old or like they can't do it because, oh, they're a mom, or oh, I'm too old, or oh, I don't want to get up there and show myself, like, or I can't give up cardio, or I can't eat as much as that. Like, what would you say to them?
I would say absolutely not. I mean,
Mm.
my friend from the gym is like, I think 60, and she just went pro and figure. You know
Heck
what I mean?
yeah.
Like, heck yeah. I mean, and my other girlfriend's 36 or something and just went pro and figure. So it's like really age, you know, like again, this sport is like age is just a
Mhm.
number, really, you know?
Yeah, it doesn't apply, that's for sure. If you
No.
show up and you do the work and you make it happen, it's a done deal. And for you, you know, you progressed enough to do that, and your training had to change, your eating had to change. And now I'm wondering, like, okay, when you go into a show and you're eating your way to your pro card and you're cutting the cardio and you're having 3 refeeds plus wine a week, what is your reverse diet like then? How did you go from that to?
Well, it's funny. I think I accidentally started following a reverse before one of my shows, and then Casey was like, "You're doing that one?" I was like, "She's like, well, just keep doing it. You look fine." And I'm like, so I had already accidentally read the new program I mean, I was crazy. So the minute we went to sit down for dinner after I won my pro card, I was sitting next to my coach at dinner. I go get crab cakes and Caesar salad. It's kind of like what I have after a
That's your
show.
thing.
Yeah, it's my thing. But because I don't do a lot of lettuce or vegetables on prep because I get pretty gassy and bloated. But
Let it
so
rip
we sit
at the
next
night
to
of the
each
show
other.
then.
It's literally like we're already plotting. She's like, there's a pro because there was what is it? The Chicago Pro and the Sacramento Pro were on the same day, and I live in LA. So she's like, you know, there's a pro show on Saturday. This was Monday night.
Right.
Oh yeah. By Tuesday, I had gotten my IFBB contract and pro card paid for and was signing up to do the pro show, which is like completely insane and stupid. It's an open show, but like this is like the craziness of like when you're like you find your tribe. You know what I mean? Clearly, like she is,
Yes.
but I'm like, okay, well, what's next? You know, what can we do?
That's amazing. So when you went on and you did that show 5 days later,
Yeah.
how did you develop your pro routine, and like what did you do to show up?
So like I looked online, and then I work with Laura Norton on our team, who's a pro, and then I kind of came up with a routine, and then I sent it to her on a video, I think to Wednesday, and then she's like, yep, that looks good, just, you know, keep it true to your personality, you know. And so kind of just went with that. Obviously, like next year I have a lot of time to develop it, but yeah, isn't that crazy? Like I just
That
made up a
is.
pro routine in like a day, and then I was like, okay, let's just do it. So my first goal was like, don't fall on stage, you know, do your pro routine. And we got there on time and everything. And so it actually worked out. But yeah, it's totally crazy, like to figure out, because it is a little bit of a different routine. You have more time and everything.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So now what are you focused on? Like what are you hoping to get out of your next season?
Well, I just signed up to do the Arizona Pro on December 5th. And then I'm really
Okay.
Then I'm calling it a season. I swear to God. Because a few of the girls that I competed with at some of the other shows, the SAC Pro, and then at San Antonio Pro, Courtney Einhorn, she's going to do it. And then I think a few other girls, Shiva from the area. And then I have some, my figure pro girlfriend, Renee Porter, is going to do it. So she's the one that actually talked me into. She's like, come on, we're both pros now. You can come compete with me. And I'm like, fine. Then it was in Vegas, and now it's back to Arizona. But I was like, I think one more show and then call it a season. I definitely need to build. I want to build definitely more lats and upper body, which I think is something I didn't get to do a lot in home training. It's really really hard without a lat pull down machine, I feel like. And I don't ever want to make excuses, but I was like, there is something to the cable machines. There really is something magic on those cable machines that helps you like build.
If there wasn't magic to it, there wouldn't be gyms, right?
I know, right? So I'm just kind of excited to see, because I obviously have the opportunity to do both masters and pro, and I'll be 40 in June. So then part of the season I can do 35 and over. The first show I think would be in April, and obviously the schedule hasn't come out yet, but so a mixture of pro shows, masters level and open, hopefully.
That's so exciting. Oh my gosh. And what is it that you want to get out of them? Like, are you hoping to earn points to qualify for the...
I mean, that's kind of a far-fetched dream, I guess. I mean, I never even thought I would be contemplating that. Really, my girlfriend, Scarlett. So Scarlett beat me at North Americans, the other blonde in a blue bikini. She's like an amazing human being. So this is the funny thing I tell people. I was like, never, like, these shows are like amazing. Like, me and Scarlett are like girlfriends, you know what I mean? And other people could leave sour thinking, oh, that girl beat me. And I'm like, that's not how it is at all. Like, I haven't felt any of that cattiness or anything. Her and I just really want to get tiaras. So
yes,
she did the Chicago Pro and got 9th, and she's 36. And I'm like, she inspired the heck out of me. I'm like, girl, I'm going to keep pushing like you, because we can do this. We can get tiaras.
Yes. That's one of my goals too.
I know, right? So maybe we'll go to Party City, if not get some tiaras or Amazon. But yeah, I don't know. That would be cool. I would love to crack a top 10 at like a bigger show of an open show, but we'll see.
Awesome. Yeah. I love that you're doing it because you really love it and you're connecting with your friends. You're making the most of your experiences. And something I love to ask, competitors who come on this show, maybe you've heard me ask it before, but if you could only pick one exercise for your glutes, your shoulders, and your hamstrings, so one for each for the rest of your life, what would you pick?
Definitely hip thrusts for glutes, 100%. And then second to that would be like glute kickbacks on a cable machine or a kickback machine. Those are like my top 2 for glutes. And then for lats is wide lat pull downs for sure, or straight arm pull downs. And then shoulders, I would say, it actually is, keep it simple for shoulders, like, overhead presses, lateral raises. Those are my finishers of every workout. And honestly, I think that really keeps the pump,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
And I'm not, I always say hashtag not the heaviest lifter in the room. And I am not.
Same.
So it's like if people want to and I applaud them for like thrusting tons of weight and doing all this stuff. But, I really love a good mind muscle connection. Like today I was like, my delts were pretty sore, but I still had some delt programming in my workout. And I was like, you know what? It's okay. Pick up a lighter weight, let my ego fall over there, and just keep that mind muscle connection. Cause that's so important with bodybuilding. If we put our mind towards like, my lats are going to get wider, my glutes are going to get fuller and tighter. My hamstrings are going to come in sharp. That positive affirmation to your body, like sends a message to your body, and it can help it grow. I swear to God. Cause I talked to my butt to grow like all off season, and everyone's like, your butt looks like a whole different butt. I was like, I talk to it every day. And I said, girl, you can grow. Okay. You can do this.
I love that. So true though. Like,
it is true. It is so true.
Oh, that's awesome. You're like, okay, all this rice that I'm chowing down is going to go right to the glutes.
Yeah, it's so sad though, because now I don't really love sushi anymore. I used to love sushi. And because of all the rice, I'm like, oh, sushi's not so exciting anymore.
That's so awesome. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. And of course, just there's so many things that we've talked about and covered so far, but I have like a couple more questions for you if you've got the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm all yours.
Awesome. Okay, so when you went from the NPC to the IFBB Pro League, what do you feel was the major difference for you? And like, what is the best part of being in the IFBB Pro League now as an athlete?
I mean, the first thing I'll say, I don't know which point it really touches on, is just like, it's really like a sense of family. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, the judges want you to do your best. You know, I mean, we've sat with Sandy or Tyler, and, you know, we've sat with them, and like the SAC Pro was like my first pro show. It was so small. It was like 9 or 10 girls. We got to sit there, and like Sandy just like talked with all of us about our bodies, our physiques, just the experience of it all. And it's like, you know, it really is like a family. And that's like the craziest thing, you know. And I don't know if it's just like a little bit of less pressure because you have your pro card, whereas like in the NPC, everyone's like, I got to get my pro card, I got to get my pro card, I got to get my pro card. There's like a heavy focus. Once you get there, it's like kind of relaxed almost. And that's like a weird thing, but it does feel a little bit more relaxed.
That's awesome. I love that. I could see that. Like there's still things to achieve and go after and work towards, but there's also that element of like now you're in this league and you get to like go to these amazing places and choose to do these awesome shows with other, you know, people in this family of the pro league. And you obviously had that even in the NPC, which explains why it's carried over into the pro league as well, because you're just very genuine like that. And I know people are probably very attracted to and appreciate that about you. And I would love if you could leave us with your best advice. So for someone who's never competed before but wants to compete, and then your best advice for someone on their road to pro.
I would say for someone who's never competed or anything, it's like dream big, you know? Just if you can think it, it can happen. You know, manifest it. And I'm not like very spiritual, and I mean, I do have some crystals. I'm from LA, they're in my wallet, but you know what I mean? Like, if you can dream it, it can happen. Because like I just, you know, people would say, oh, it's like they would never think that I could go this far this fast. And it's like I just dreamt it. I put it on a thing. Actually, that's funny because I sat down to talk with you, and I have this notebook, and I haven't opened this notebook since I think like my first prep. And literally, I'm not going to cry, but I turned to a page, and this was from, I don't even know when, this is way back. It said, this literally in big purple Sharpie, because it's probably the only pen I could find for my son. It says, I can be it all, mom, doctor, IFBB pro. It literally says that right here. And it's like, I guess like I kind of dreamed it, you know, and so dreamed it, but then put in the hard work.
That is amazing.
And then I think people on the road, it's funny because the post I did today was keep showing up. And like that hits to a lot of people because like you'll have a lot of near misses, or you'll have that time where you thought you were going to get the pro card and didn't, or you thought you were at your best and you weren't, or, you know, whatever feedback the judges gave you. And it's like, you just need to keep showing up. And that cycles me back to kind of like Maya a little bit because like, you know, that's why I talk about age is nothing in this sport. So the fact that like I'm an older woman looking at these younger women and being very inspired by them, not just like for physique wise or that, but for who they are as people and knowing their work ethic. Like Sandy talks about Maya, and it's like Maya did 10 shows, you know, and people would say I'm crazy doing my 6th show in 9 weeks, but it's like, I'm going to keep showing up. If I'm feeling healthy and I'm feeling great, part of this is continuing to show up, you know, because it's a dedication to the sport and to your goals and dreams. And that really kind of is it. You know, it's like I was saying, Maya, it's like she kept showing up and she kept progressing. And it's like, that is like a fairy tale, right? Like she's Cinderella. She's going to the Olympia. She kept showing up and putting in the work and making improvements, you know? And I think that's so inspiring. If anybody's not inspired by that story, they need to research Maya a little bit more, you know?
I agree 100%.
Like
everyone, that journey is like, it's a very good positive representation of like how persistence pays off in this sport. And when you really don't quit on your dreams and you just keep going and overcoming obstacles, like she's such a great representation of that. And also you are. So let's not forget that. Like you really, like you committed to your goals. You've always been that way, but even stepped up even more through this sport too. And you're showing up and inspiring so many as well with your journey. And I'm personally very excited to see where you go. And I'm super grateful to have had you on today. And I would love for everyone to be able to connect with you as well. So can you let them know how they can do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my God, I'm so grateful for you having me. Thank you so much. This was such a wonderful time. We could talk for like 10 hours.
I know.
But, you know, I have to go at some point. But yeah, so I just mainly my Instagram, dr.chelanashley, dr.chelanashley, is my Instagram handle, which I actually got a lot of flack for. It's like, why didn't you change yours to IFBB Pro or this or that? And it's like, you know what? It's up to me what I do and how I live my life. And it's like, I can't really answer to other people. I'm not saying I'll never change it, but you know what I mean? That's my primary identity, I guess. And so I kept it that. So anybody wants to connect with me, I'm totally open. Moms, whatever phase of life, ages, you know, I'm not saying I always have the right advice. I'm better at saying what other people should do, don't do what I do. But, you know, if you want to cry about your macros or your anything, I'm always here to help anybody. And like my girlfriends and even my guy friends will kind of attest to that, you know?
Oh, that's awesome. You're just so genuine, and I appreciate that so much. And I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about the IG link, because like most people will change that right when they get off stage and they become a pro. So you obviously haven't, and you didn't. And I love that you said it's just not like your main identity has been doctor. Not that you'll never change it, but I think that gives other people permission to know it's not all about the gram.
Yeah, no, and like that's the kind of thing I say. It's funny because my whole career isn't really on Instagram, you know, and that there's nothing wrong or right about that. It's just that like I don't get to share. I mean, obviously because it's patient confidentiality and other things, but like I don't really get to share my actual career a lot on there. So it's like kind of like my little part of my identity that I do get to keep as a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I think if somebody stumbles across me or finds me and finds out I'm in fitness or bodybuilding, you know, that's great for now. But you know, obviously in the future, I feel like part of me loves helping people, and I just do envision that like, you know, I can help people live a better lifestyle or healthier lifestyle, or even like competitions, you know. I got to go to Universe this year with my team as just recently in South Carolina, and I got to kind of be a stage mom, and it was like the most rewarding and fulfilling experience. Like it was more stressful for me to like be a stage mom than it was for me to even get on stage. I was like, oh my God, I'm so stressed out, like making sure tans are good. And like, you know, my coach was like right there with me, and I'm like, I'm just going to shadow you this whole time in case he's such an angel. And like, we hung out, you know, but it's like, I feel so blessed to like have this group of women, you know, on my team and off, where it's like, we can support each other, you know, and you know, exactly like connecting me and you, like bodybuilding connected us. And here I am getting to talk with you. And I honestly can't wait to see what you're up to, because I've been seeing some posts and stuff. So you should tell everyone what you're going to be up to soon.
Yes. Well, right after your episode comes out, I'll have already stepped on my first national stage. So
is that you're doing USA's?
I am.
Okay, I will be there, girl.
Really?
Stage mom. Yeah. Hopefully it's staying in Vegas though, because then I'm going. Yeah. No, I'm definitely there.
Oh my gosh, that will be awesome. I can't wait to meet you.
Yes, me too. I'm so
Yay.
excited.
Oh my gosh, this is awesome. Well, we'll talk a little bit more too. And to everyone listening, thank you guys so much as always. Yes, I'm going to put your Instagram link on the show notes page. That's always celestial.fit/podcast. If you guys are looking for it, that also has all the show notes, episode timestamps, and that'll help you to find all those golden nuggets that were shared throughout the episode so you can reflect back on them. And if you're listening to this, you know, months down the road from its release date, just scroll to the category section and you'll see your name there. You can always click it and find everything. And again, thank you guys for your listenership, for subscribing, and for sharing it with your friends. It means so much to me. And if you are currently like a pro and you're wanting to be on this podcast, or you are an NPC competitor and you're like, one day I'm going to be on this podcast, I would love to have you on. It would be so amazing. Just like this episode was so fulfilling for me. So never hesitate to reach out. I'm very open, and I want to wish you all an amazing rest of your day, night, or morning, wherever you are in the world while you're listening to this episode.